Hello, tonight our lesson is on parabolas. Parabolas are curved shapes, and you can see here some examples in real life from some architecture and from technology that parabolas are all around us. Here, this first picture, we have a picture of the St. Louis Arch. So that arch is a parabolic shape. It's a curved shape. Whenever you see an arch in a doorway or in a building, here on this ancient Roman bridge, that arch shape is a parabolic shape. And then here we have a radar dish or some sort of dish receiver that is also a parabolic shape, that curved shape. All right, here's a familiar table that we solved last week in class. And if you filled this in, we came up with the following numbers. And the rule for this was the input number x is being squared. So if I was going to write the equation would be y is equal to x squared. All right, so this rule of y equals x squared, if we were to put it onto a coordinate plane and graph the x and y values, we would get a parabolic shape. And you can see the graph here of y equals x squared. Notice that when you have a parabola, you do have a vertex. And a vertex is the highest or the lowest point of the graph. In this case, since our parabola is opening upward, the vertex is the lowest point on the graph. There are parabolas that when you graph them, they would be curved like that. And in that case, the vertex would be the highest point on the graph. And there's one other thing that we talk about when we talk about parabolas, and you'll know more about this and learn more about it next year in 9th grade, but the axis of symmetry would be an invisible line that would divide the graph into two mirror images. So the axis of symmetry, actually my graph's a little bit off. The axis of symmetry for this parabola would be the y-axis, because the y-axis divides this parabola graph into two mirror images. All right, here was a table that we found the rule for last week. This rule ended up being the value of x multiplied by itself plus 1. So for instance, when x was 2, then we add 1 to it and get 3, and then 2 times 3 would make 6. Another way to write this is x squared plus x. All right, so filling in our table, if x is negative 3, if we square it, that's positive 9, and add negative 3, we get 6. Here the number x would need to be is 5 in order to add 1 and then multiply and get 30. When x is 1, y is 2. All right, so this graph, if we were to put it on a coordinate plane, would also make a parabola shape. It would have that U-type shape. So anytime you have an equation that x is being taken to the second power, you're going to get that parabola shape. So here are a couple more examples of parabola equations and their graphs. And you can see that in both of these that we end up with our x variable being taken to the second power, being squared. That's all for tonight. Read some books.